The great hall of the Galactic Council was a sight to behold. Suspended in the void of space, the massive structure glittered like a jewel, its walls made of transparent crystal that revealed the endless expanse of stars outside. Floating platforms carried delegates from hundreds of species, their voices a chaotic hum of panic and desperation. The air was thick with unease, the kind that settled deep in the bones when facing an unstoppable enemy. 4 weeks now, the Silicon beings had been advancing across the galaxy, leaving devastation in their wake. Planets reduced to lifeless husks. Entire civilizations wiped out. No warning, no negotiations, just silence, followed by death. The delegates spoke of these horrors in hurried tones, their tentacles trembling, their feathers ruffling, their bioluminescent skins flickering erratically. This was a predator the likes of which the galaxy had never seen, a machine species, cold and calculating, with no fear and no mercy. "We cannot fight them," bellowed a six-limbed delegate, his voice breaking with fear. "Our fleets are destroyed before they can even engage. They anticipate our every move." Another delegate, her translucent wings quivering, added, "They adapt to every weapon we use. They learn faster than we can counter." The council was in chaos. Species known for their intellect, wisdom, and power were reduced to frightened whispers. And then, amidst the cacophony, a deep, commanding voice cut through the noise. "You called for Earth." The delegates turned as one toward the speaker, their collective gazes landing on a single figure standing on the central platform. Captain Stone, Earth's representative, stood tall and unyielding. A human, the only species in the galaxy known as Death Worlders, humanity's role. The term Death World wasn't a compliment. It was a warning. Earth was a planet teeming with danger, from apex predators to volatile climates. It was a world that forged survivors, not pacifists. Humanity had thrived against all odds, adapting to hostile environments in ways no other species could imagine. To the rest of the galaxy, humans were both feared and respected. Captain Stone was a living embodiment of that reputation. Clad in Earth's dark military uniform, his presence was commanding. His scarred face told stories of battles fought and won, of a resilience that bordered on stubborn defiance. "You can't fight them because you don't understand them," Stone said, his voice calm but resolute. "You've been trying to fight predators as prey. That's why you're losing." The room fell silent. "They're machines," Stone continued, his gaze sweeping across the room. "Predator-like, yes, but programmed with perfect efficiency. They don't just fight, they hunt. And you've been playing into their hands, predictable in your tactics, emotional in your responses." "What would you suggest, Death Worlder?" asked the reptilian delegate, her voice dripping with disdain, though her trembling tail betrayed her fear. Stone stepped forward, his steel-gray eyes locking onto hers. "You brought Earth here because you know what we are. We're not prey. We're predators too. And the only way to fight a predator," he paused, his voice dropping to a near growl, "is to become the bigger one." Foreshadowing the threat, Stone gestured to a holographic display that appeared above his platform. It showed a swarm of silicon beings, gleaming metallic constructs shaped like arachnids, with razor-sharp limbs and glowing red cores. They moved as one, a fluid, terrifying mass. "They don't think like you do," Stone explained. "They analyze, adapt, and evolve. Every mistake you've made, they've learned from. Every weapon you've deployed has become obsolete the moment it was fired. They're not just machines. They're perfect hunters." The council murmured nervously, the weight of Stone's words sinking in. "But," Stone continued, his tone sharp, "machines have limits. They're logical, predictable, in their own way. And Earth has a long history of breaking things that thought they were perfect." The room grew quiet again. Stone's confidence was unsettling, but it was the first glimmer of hope they'd felt in weeks. The delegates looked at each other, their fear now mixed with the faintest spark of belief. "We'll give you what you need," the council's leader finally said. their voice echoing through the hall. But if you fail, Deaf Worlder, it won't just be Earth that falls. It will be all of us. Stone nodded, the faintest hint of a smirk tugging at his lips. Then it's a good thing Earth doesn't fail. The Galactic Council had made its decision. The survival of the galaxy now rested in the hands of the humans, a species feared for their ruthlessness and respected for their ingenuity. As Captain Stone descended from the central platform, the other delegates watched him with a mix of hope and unease. The proposal. In the Council's war room, a vast chamber lined with holographic displays of planets and fleets, Captain Stone stood before a group of alien generals and scientists. At his side was Dr. Elena Wells, Earth's leading AI specialist, and Admiral Marcus Reed, a seasoned strategist known for turning the tide in impossible battles. Our first mistake, Stone began, pacing slowly, was thinking we could fight the silicon beings head-on. They don't just anticipate your moves. They dismantle your strategy before you've even deployed it. A holographic map of a recent battle flickered to life. It showed a fleet of ships engaging the silicon beings, only to be decimated within minutes. The alien generals flinched as the recording replayed the carnage. "They're hunters," Stone continued, "and you've been reacting like prey. But Earth doesn't react. We ambush. We adapt. And when necessary," he turned to face the room, his voice hardening, "we annihilate." Dr. Wells stepped forward, her fingers flying over a control panel. A new display appeared, showing a detailed schematic of the silicon beings. "These machines are not invincible," she said, her voice calm and precise. "Their cores emit a resonance signal that allows them to communicate and coordinate in real time. If we can disrupt that signal, even temporarily, we can break their unity." The room buzzed with murmurs of interest. Resistance from the Council. A tall, insectoid delegate raised an appendage. "You're proposing to use resonance beams? Such weapons are unstable. If miscalculated, they could destroy entire fleets. And if we do nothing..." Admiral Reed interjected, his voice sharp. "Your fleets are already being destroyed. At least this way, you'll have a fighting chance." The room fell silent. The stakes were clear. The plan unfolds. Stone pointed to the holographic display. "Here's what we'll do. We'll lure the silicon beings into an asteroid field near the Andric system. It's a natural bottleneck, perfect for an ambush. While their fleet is concentrated, we'll deploy modified resonance beams to disrupt their signal." "And then," asked a feathered delegate. Stone's smirk returned. "And then we hit them with everything we've got," Dr. Wells added. "Our engineers are already working on weapon modifications. Your fleets will be outfitted with the necessary tech within 72 hours. We'll train your crews on Earth ambush tactics. Hit fast, hit hard, and disappear before they can respond." The alien generals exchanged uncertain glances, but one by one they nodded. It was a desperate plan, but it was the best one they had. Preparation begins. The following days were a frenzy of activity. Alien fleets arrived at Earth orbital stations, their crews disembarking with wary expressions as they saw humans for the first time. In one of the training bays, Captain Stone stood before a group of alien pilots, demonstrating Earth's infamous ambush tactics. "You don't attack head-on," he said, pacing in front of the recruits. "You use the terrain. You use the environment. Make them come to you, and when they do, strike where it hurts most." A holographic simulation played behind him, showing small human ships using asteroid fields to outmaneuver larger, more powerful enemies. The alien pilots watched intently, their initial skepticism giving way to respect. Personal stakes for humanity. In the quiet moments between training sessions, Stone found himself gazing out at Earth from the station's observation deck. Dr. Wells approached, her usually sharp demeanor softened. "You're worried," she said, standing beside him. Stone didn't reply immediately. His gaze remained fixed on the blue and green planet below. "We're putting everything on the line here," he said finally. "Earth isn't just fighting for itself anymore. If we fail," Humanity's reputation dies with us. Wells placed a hand on his shoulder. That's why we won't fail, foreshadowing the battle ahead. As the final preparations were made, tension rippled through the fleet. In the control center, Admiral Reed surveyed the holographic map of the Andrix system, where the ambush would take place. "This is it," he said to Stone. "If this doesn't work—" "It will," Stone interrupted. His voice was steady, but his clenched fist betrayed his nerves. "It has to." The asteroid field near the Andrix system was eerily quiet. Jagged rocks drifted slowly through the vacuum of space, illuminated by the faint glow of a distant star. The Allied fleet lay hidden among the asteroids. Hundreds of ships from dozens of species, their engines powered down to avoid detection. It was the calm before the storm. In the command ship, Captain Stone stood at the helm, his eyes fixed on the holographic display that showed the fleet's positions. Beside him, Admiral Reed analyzed the incoming data, while Dr. Wells monitored the resonance weapon systems. "Any sign of them?" Stone asked. "Not yet," Reed replied, his tone tense. "But they're coming." Our scout drones picked up movement near the outer edge of the system. The trap is set. The plan was simple but risky. The Allied fleet would remain hidden until the Silicon beings entered the asteroid field. Once the enemy was in position, the resonance beams would be deployed to disrupt their communication and coordination. The fleet would then launch a coordinated ambush, targeting the Silicon beings' cores. On the comms, alien pilots whispered nervously. "Do you think this will work?" one voice asked, tinged with fear. "It has to," another replied. Stone activated the fleet-wide comms. His voice cut through the static, calm and commanding. "Listen up. I know you're scared. I know you're not soldiers. But remember this. You're not fighting alone. You've got humanity on your side. Trust the plan, trust your training, and trust each other. We can do this." A quiet murmur of agreement spread through the comms, the fears slowly giving way to determination. The Silicon beings arrive. Suddenly, alarms blared. "They're here," Reed announced, his eyes on the display. The Silicon beings' fleet appeared on the edge of the asteroid field. Hundreds of gleaming metallic ships, shaped like arachnids, their razor-sharp limbs slicing through space with precision. Their glowing red cores pulsed rhythmically, like the heartbeat of a predator. "They're moving into the field," Wells said, her voice steady despite the tension. "Hold your positions," Stone ordered. "Let them come to us." The Allied fleet remained motionless, their ships blending into the shadows of the asteroids. The Silicon beings moved deeper into the field, their ships spreading out as they scanned for targets. The ambush begins. "Now," Stone commanded. The resonance beams fired, their glowing energy cutting through the asteroid field in waves. The effect was immediate. Several of the Silicon beings' ships froze mid-movement, their coordination disrupted. The enemy fleet faltered, their perfect formations breaking apart. "All ships, engage." The Allied fleet sprang into action. Ships emerged from behind asteroids, their weapons blazing. The battlefield erupted into chaos as lasers and missiles streaked across the void. Stone's ship led the charge, weaving through the asteroids with practiced precision. "Target their cores," he barked into the comms. "It's their only weakness." Immersive battle description. The battle was a symphony of destruction. Explosions lit up the asteroid field as ships collided and debris scattered in all directions. The Silicon beings fought back fiercely, their ships adapting to the resonance disruption faster than expected. A small alien craft was cornered by two enemy ships. "I'm hit. I can't." The pilot's voice cut off as their ship was destroyed. "Focus, people," Stone shouted. "Stick to the plan." One of the enemy ships locked onto Stone's command ship, firing a barrage of energy blasts. The ship shook violently as the shields absorbed the impact. "Shields at 40%. Reed reported. "Keep moving." Stone replied, gripping the console tightly. "Turning the tide." Dr. Wells worked frantically at her station, recalibrating the resonance beams to extend their disruption range. "Just a few more seconds," she muttered. "Make it fast, Doc," Stone called out as another blast rocked the ship. Finally, Wells hit the activation switch. The resonance beams pulsed again, stronger this time. The Silicon Beings' ship shuddered, their movements becoming erratic. "They're breaking formation," Reed exclaimed. The Allied fleet seized the opportunity, launching a coordinated assault. One by one, the Silicon Beings' ships were destroyed, their glowing cores shattering into fragments. Victory, but at a cost. As the last enemy ship was obliterated, a tense silence fell over the battlefield. The surviving ships of the Allied fleet regrouped, their crews exhausted but triumphant. "We did it," Reed said, his voice filled with relief. Stone didn't respond immediately. His gaze lingered on the debris field, the wreckage of both enemy and Allied ships. "We won," he said quietly. "But look at the cost." The comms were filled with voices reporting casualties, pilots who had given their lives for the galaxy's survival. Stone's expression hardened. "This was just the beginning," he muttered. "They'll adapt. They always do." The aftermath of the battle left the asteroid field littered with debris, twisted shards of Silicon Being ships and the remnants of Allied vessels. For the first time in weeks, there was silence on the comms, a stark contrast to the chaos that had just unfolded. In the war room aboard the command ship, Captain Stone addressed the surviving fleet commanders. Their faces, scales, and tendrils bore the marks of exhaustion, but their eyes reflected something new: hope. "You all fought well," Stone began, his voice steady but filled with weight. "But this was just a skirmish. The Silicon Beings will adapt. If we don't learn to fight smarter and together, we won't survive the next encounter. Training begins." Over the next several weeks, humanity shared their knowledge with the galaxy. On a barren moon near the Andric system, the Allied species gathered for rigorous training under Earth's guidance. The training grounds were a strange mix of cultures. In one corner, reptilian warriors struggled to wield human-designed plasma rifles, their claws fumbling with the unfamiliar triggers. Nearby, avian pilots practiced evasive maneuvers in simulators, their feathers fluttering with frustration. Stone walked through the chaos, his sharp gaze assessing each group. "You're not here to learn how to fight like humans," he announced, addressing the trainees. "You're here to learn how to think like predators." He paused, letting his words sink in. "Use your instincts. Use your surroundings. Stop thinking about survival, and start thinking about victory." Alien resistance to change. Not everyone adapted easily. A tall, amphibious commander named Talon confronted Stone after a particularly grueling training session. "We're not like you, Deaf Worlder," Talon said, his voice thick with disdain. "We don't kill without reason. We don't thrive on violence." Stone stared at him, his expression unreadable. "Neither do we," he replied quietly. "But when survival is at stake, you either adapt or you die. That's the truth of this galaxy, whether you like it or not." Talon hesitated, then nodded reluctantly. "Teach us," he said. A moment of connection. One night, as the recruits rested around a makeshift campfire, Stone sat with a small group of alien trainees. The flickering light cast long shadows across their faces, a reminder of the darkness they all faced. An avian pilot spoke up hesitantly. "Is it true that Earth is called a death world because everything there wants to kill you?" Stone smirked, leaning back against a rock. "Not everything," he said. "Just most things." The group chuckled nervously, but the laughter quickly faded. "How you live like that?" the pilot asked, his tone serious. Stone's smirk disappeared. "You don't live," he said. "You survive. You learn to adapt, to fight, to never give up, and you find strength in the people around you. That's what makes us human. And that's what you need to learn if we're going to win this war." The new alliance takes shape. As the training progressed, the Allied species began to transform. The once timid and scattered recruits grew more confident, more coordinated. They learned to anticipate the silicon beings' moves, to use the environment to their advantage, and to fight with precision and strategy. Dr. Wells, monitoring their progress from a control room, couldn't help but smile. "They're learning," she said softly. Admiral Reed stood beside her, his arms crossed. "Let's hope it's enough," he muttered. The silicon beings won't wait forever, foreshadowing the final battle. In the final days of training, Stone called the commanders together for a briefing. A holographic map displayed the galaxy, highlighting the next target of the silicon beings, a densely populated system housing billions of civilians. "This is where we make our stand," Stone said, his tone grim. "We've prepared you as much as we can. Now it's up to all of us to fight like hell, and make sure those people have a future." The commanders nodded, their fear replaced by determination. They had come a long way from the scared, defeated delegates who had first gathered in the Great Hall. Now, they were warriors. As the fleet prepared to depart, Stone stood on the observation deck, gazing out at the stars. Dr. Wells joined him, her expression thoughtful. "Do you think they're ready?" she asked. Stone didn't answer immediately. After a moment, he said, "I think they're as ready as they'll ever be. Now we find out if it's enough." The fleet emerged from hyperspace above the densely populated Kalar system, a jewel of life and culture in the galaxy. Below them lay sprawling cities glowing softly against the planet's surface. But above, the skies darkened with the arrival of the silicon beings. The final battle had begun, the last stand. The Allied fleet moved into position, their formation tighter than ever before. Ships from dozens of species now fought as one, using the tactics humanity had taught them. They darted between the massive enemy vessels, using asteroids and debris as cover. Captain Stone's voice echoed through the comms, calm but commanding. "Remember your training. Don't hesitate. Take out the cores." The silicon beings, as predicted, adapted quickly. Their ships formed new patterns, countering the fleet's ambush tactics. But the Alliance fought back with precision and courage. Alien pilots who had once been terrified now attacked with confidence, their weapons finding the weak points in the enemy's design. Admiral Reed, aboard the flagship, coordinated the fleet with precision. Target Group C, move to Sector 7. Support the Andraxian Squadron. Humanity's role. On the command deck, Dr. Wells worked furiously, fine-tuning the resonance disruptors. "We're almost there," she said, sweat beading on her forehead. "If we can overload their core network, we can shut them down completely." Stone nodded, his gaze locked on the battlefield. "Do it, no matter what it takes." The Allied fleet pressed forward, pushing the silicon beings back toward the system's edge. Explosions lit up the void, the combined firepower of the Alliance overwhelming the enemy forces. Victory and sacrifice. As the final resonance disruptor fired, the silicon beings' ships froze in place, their glowing cores dimming. One by one, the enemy vessels shut down, drifting lifelessly into the void. Cheers erupted across the fleet. For the first time in weeks, the galaxy had hope. But victory came at a cost. Hundreds of Allied ships lay destroyed, their crews lost. Captain Stone stood silently on the observation deck, watching the wreckage drift past. "They fought well," Dr. Wells said softly, standing beside him. Stone nodded. "They gave everything, and they won a new galactic order." In the days following the battle, the Galactic Council convened once again, this time with a very different tone. Captain Stone addressed the assembly. "The galaxy owes its survival not to Earth, but to the strength and unity of its people. You prove that when we stand together, no enemy is too great." The delegates listened with reverence, their respect for humanity now tempered by understanding. The Alliance had transformed them all, alien and human alike. Reflection and open-ended twist. As Stone and his team prepared to leave, Admiral Reed approached him. "You know this isn't over, right? The silicon beings will adapt. They always do." Stone's expression hardened. I know, but we'll be ready. As their ship left the council station, Stone glanced at a data pad on his desk. For a brief moment, the screen flickered, displaying the faint outline of a red, glowing core, the signature of the Silicon beings. Stone stared at it, his jaw tightening. Looks like they're already learning. The screen went dark, leaving only the vast expanse of space ahead.